Today we're going to be solving Cambridge IGCSE Chemistry Paper 2 Multiple Choice Extended October-November 2025 Paper 21. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be solving this paper with a pink color, right? A sealed balloon contains air. The temperature of the balloon is increased. Which row describes how the pressure in the balloon and the kinetic energy of the particles in the air change? Okay, so what's happening is that temperature of the balloon is being increased. So, when the temperature is going to increase, particles are going to move faster, and when they're going to move faster, they're going to exert more force on the wall, and pressure equals to force upon area. Pressure is directly proportional to force if area is constant. So, pressure is going to increase. Kinetic energy of particles, definitely particles are going to be moving faster because now they have more energy. They're going to be like boom, 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 boom. So they're going to be moving faster. So the kinetic energy is also going to increase, right? Ammonia gas is reacted with HCl using the apparatus shown. Solid ammonium chloride is produced. Over here we have NH3. Over here we have HCl. Which statement explains why the solid ammonium chloride is found nearer to HCl? Why? Because look, ammonia is going to diffuse faster. In the given amount of time, ammonia is going to diffuse this much, while our hydrogen chloride gas is only going to diffuse this much. Why? Because it's a heavier gas. Why? Because the MR of hydrogen chloride gas is 36.5, right? And for ammonia, it's 17, right? So since it's lighter in mass, it's gonna diffuse faster. Simple. Aqueous ammonia is a base. No, basic and acidic nature does not have to do anything with your rate of diffusion. Ammonia molecules diffuse more slowly. No, they diffuse more quickly. HCl has a greater molecular mass than ammonia. That's right. Greater molecular mass. That means slower rate of diffusion. The table shows information about 4 particles. What are the values of W, X, Y, and Z? Okay, sodium, W, number of neutrons in sodium. What do? 23 minus 11, right? The nucleon number minus the proton number gives you the number of neutrons, which I think is going to be 12. Okay, then for X, what is X? X is the number of electrons in a sodium ion. We have 10 number of protons, right? That means we had initially in a sodium atom 11 protons, so 11 electrons we had. But since we lost 1 electron, plus 1 means we lost. Now we're going to have 10 electrons. Why? Y says number of neutrons in an oxygen atom. 16 minus 8 gives me 8. Z says that we have to find the number of electrons in a oxide ion. Initially it had 8 electrons, but 2 negative means it gained 2 electrons, right? 8 plus 2, 10 electrons. Okay. Substances with giant covalent structures can be used as lubricants. Yeah, graphite is used as lubricants. Why? Because the layers of graphite, no, we only have to use pink color. The layers of graphite, these are the layers of graphite. When force is applied, the layers can slip and slide over each other. Why can the layers slip and slide over each other? Because there are weak intermolecular, weak van der Waals forces between the two layers. This is one layer, this is the second layer. Between the layers, there's a weak force. So when you apply force, the layers can slide and can be used as cutting tools. Diamond is used as cutting tool because it's hard. Because they're strong between two carbon atoms, they're strong covalent bonds. The diagram shows how the atoms are arranged in two giant covalent substances P and Q. Which statement is correct? Only P is used as a cutting tool. Only P is used. No, P is not used. P is used as a lubricant. Only P is used as a lubricant and only Q is used as a cutting tool. Yeah. Q used as a cutting tool, which is our diamond, and P used as a lubricant, which is our graphite. Symbols representing 4 particles are shown. The letters are not the chemical symbols. Which particles have the same number of neutrons? How do we calculate the number of neutrons? This minus this, the nucleon number minus the proton number. 20 here, 21 here, and 37 minus 18. 19 here, 37 minus 17, 20. 20, 37 minus 17. I know it's 20, 20. So which two particles? This particle and this, W and this one, right? Yeah. Okay, which structures describe the formation of bond in lithium bromide? Lithium is going to form Li positive one, bromide is going to form Br negative one, and this particle and this particle are going to be electrostatically attracted because they're oppositely charged. A lithium atom donates one electron to a bromine atom. Makes sense. A lithium atom is going to donate one, going to lose one to bromine atom. Which statement explains why solid magnesium is a good conductor? Metallic bonding. Solid magnesium gonna have layers of positive ions, gonna have delocalized electrons. Concepts are clear, nothing's difficult. Magnesium has delocalized electrons which can move through the lattice. Makes sense. The equation for the reaction between ethanoic acid and lithium hydroxide is shown. Ethanoic acid, lithium hydroxide, lithium ethanoate, and water. In an experiment, this amount of lithium hydroxide neutralized by this amount of ethanoic acid. Which statement is correct? The amount of lithium hydroxide equals to this much moles. Let's calculate out the moles. Moles equals to a concentration, which is this much, 0.050 multiplied by our volume, which is this, 20. Since it's in cm cube, we got to have the volume in dm cube divided by 1000. So that's the amount of moles. And basically over here it's inverted. It's written the opposite. 20 should be in the numerator and 1000 in the denominator, so cross. The amount of ethanoic acid reacted is this. To figure this out, we first need to find out the moles of our lithium hydroxide. So this is how we figure out the moles of our lithium hydroxide. This is how we figure out, right? So calculator, I'm gonna do it on my calculator. 0.05. This gives me how many moles? 0.001 moles, right? I know the mole ratio between my ethanoic acid and lithium hydroxide is 1:1. So if the moles of my lithium hydroxide are 0.001, then the moles of my ethanoic acid are also going to be 0.001. Makes sense. Which makes the amount of ethanoic acid reacts is 0.001. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, the concentration of dilute ethanoic acid is this. No, it's not this. Why it's not this? Because calculated. We have the moles, which are 0.001, and we have the volume. Divide the moles, 0.001 by the volume. We're not going to use 12.5 divided by 1000. Why? Because we need it in TM cube. 1, 2, 3. 0.0125. 0.0125. How much we get divided by 0.0125? I get 0.08 mole per dm cube volume. The volume of aqueous lithium hydroxide used is this. Definitely not this. The question tells us it's 20 cm cube. So 20 cm cube equals to how many dm cube? 1, 2, 3, 0.020 dm cube. There is a 0 missing over here. It should have been 0.02, right? Piece of cake. The molecular formulae of 4 compounds are listed. The molecular formulae are also the empirical formulae. Which molecular formulas are also empirical formula? Look at this formula. It cannot be further broken down. There's no number on which you can cut 1 and 4, right? No table. So this C2H6 can be further simplified 2 to 1 times 2 to 3 times 6. So it can become CH3. This can not be further simplified. 3 and 8 does not come in one table. So this is also our answer. C3H6 can be further simplified 2, 3, 1 times 3, 3, 2 times 6. So it can become CH2. That means 1 and 3. Their molecular formulae are also their empirical formulae. The equation for the reaction between copper 2 oxide and ammonia is shown. Copper, ammonia forming this stuff. Which statement about the reaction are correct? 80 gram of copper oxide reacts with 17 gram of ammonia. 80 gram, over here there are 3 moles. So 80 times 3. 80 times 3 gives me 240, yeah? 240 grams of copper oxide is going to react with how much ammonia? गलत गलत गलत. इसके 3 moles इसके 2 moles के साथ react करते हैं, तो इसके 1 mole का mass इसके 1 mole के mass के साथ it cannot react. The statement is straight away across. Just use senses. Look, 80 grams means mass of 1 mole, right? Mass of 1 mole. 3 moles react with 2 moles. Then how can the mass of 1 mole of this react with mass of 1 mole of ammonia? It cannot. 4 gram of copper oxide, you just got to be a little more like understand the moles things. 4 grams of copper oxide reacts with an excess ammonia to produce 3.2 gram of copper. Okay, so over here, 240 grams of this copper oxide things. Copper oxide ratio, copper is 1:1. 3:3 means 1:1, or write 3:3, whatever you want. 1:1. So if we have 240 grams of this, or you can simply take the mass of 1 mole because I'm doing 1:1. If we have 80 grams of this, we're going to form, copper is 64 grams of this. So if I have 4 grams of copper, I'm going to form X grams of this. 4 into 64 divided by 80. 3.2. So I'm going to form 3.2 gram of copper, which makes option 2 correct. The mass of water produced in this reaction is greater than the mass of nitrogen. See it for yourself. 3 moles of water is going to have 3 times 18, which is 3 times 18 is 54 grams. And nitrogen is 28, right? 28 grams and 54 grams. So the mass of water is indeed greater, so which makes option 2 and 3 option number D. Okay? How many atoms are present in 1 mole of argon? I think undisputedly Avogadro's constant amount of atoms. Aqueous copper 2 sulfate is electrolyzed using copper electrodes. Which statement is correct? Okay, so we have aqueous copper sulfate. We're going to form copper and copper. Why? Because we have copper electrodes. So oxygen is produced, no. Blue color in the solution gradually fades, no. We have copper, more copper will come. The concentration of copper ions in the solution stay the same, yeah, because the copper that comes out of the solution go backs. Like the copper that's going to be deposited on the cathode, this is our cathode, is going to come back from the anode, right? So no net loss of copper is going to happen with the solution. Which describes the reactions during electrolysis of dilute aqueous sodium chloride. We have dilute, so we are going to form OH negative, not the chloride ion, and since we have aqueous sodium, so we have H plus ions that are less reactive than sodium, so they are going to be displaced. So anode, we are going to form oxygen gas. At the cathode, we are going to form hydrogen gas. So hydrogen and oxygen being formed. Okay. Information about 2 reaction is given. The neutralization reaction between citric acid and sodium hydrogen carbonate is endothermic. The displacement reaction between magnesium and carbon dioxide is exothermic. Which statement about the 2 reaction is correct? The energy of the products formed in the neutralization reaction is greater than the energy of the reactants. We're dealing with an endothermic reaction. So reactants over here, products above the reactants, products over here, products have more energy. Now let's read the statement again. The energy of the products formed in the neutralization reaction is greater than that of the reactants, right? Because we're dealing with an endothermic, and endothermic products have more energy. The energy of magnesium and carbon dioxide is greater than the energy of magnesium oxide and carbon. Okay, so this is an exothermic. Exothermic reactants here, products here. So now let's see the statement again. The energy of the magnesium and carbon dioxide, which are the reactants, is greater. Yeah, it's going to be greater. In an exothermic reaction, the energy required to break bonds is greater. No, the energy that's released when bonds are formed is greater. So cross 1 and 2, option B. The reaction pathway diagram for a reaction is shown which row identifies these are the reactants, these are the products. This is an endothermic reaction because the products are more energetic than the reactants. In endothermic, this is the activation energy from the reactants to the peak. Delta H is from the reactants to the peak and it's positive. I guess easy paper. It's a very easy paper. There's no technical side to it. Very easy, straightforward questions that you guys have done. Hydrogen peroxide solution decomposes very slowly at room temperature. To produce oxygen gas, the gas forms a rising foam when liquid detergent is added. 5 test tubes are half filled with H2O2 solution. A drop of liquid detergent is added, so now form of O2 gas is going to form. Different metal oxides are added to the 4 test tubes and the height of the foam under after 1 minute is measured. Aluminum, no metal oxide, this much foam. Okay, so look, when we add this, the foam increases. That means if the foam above it is increasing, only gonna use shades of pink. So if the foam above it, this is the foam, right? If the foam above it is increasing, that means more oxygen is produced, right? Which conclusion can be drawn? Metal oxides do not affect the rate of reaction. They do. Look, you add calcium oxide, foam increases. You add copper oxide, foam increases. Why don't they do? All metal oxide increase the rate of the reaction. No, not all. Aluminum oxide added, no foam increased. Manganese oxide is the best catalyst. Yes, because the height of the foam is the greatest with manganese oxide. Which equation represents one of the reactions in the contact process? Why aqueous? Gas. You form gas. I don't even need to read them, they're so easy. The ionic equation shown for a redox reaction, which row shows the changes in the oxidation number for manganese. And for iodine, manganese over here is a positive 7. Check it out. Look, negative 8 for total oxygens, negative 1 over here, so a positive 7. Over here, positive 7 to positive 2. This. Iodine is a negative 1 here and a 0 here, so negative 1 to 0. Very easy. In the Haber process, nitrogen and hydrogen react to form ammonia. The forward reaction is exo. Remember, forward, exo, that means backward, endo. The forward reaction is exo, which changes to the pressure and the temperature increases the yield of ammonia. Change in temperature. Obviously, if you're going to decrease the temperature, then the forward reaction is going to happen. So if you want to increase the ammonia, we got to decrease the temperature so it moves forwards. Change in pressure. 4 moles on the reactant side, 2 moles on the product side. We want to form the product, so we got to increase the temperature, increase the pressure, because when we increase the pressure, the reaction move towards the side that is less moles. So increase in pressure. Done and dusted. What's difficult? It's so easy. Which statement describes the property of ethanoic acid? It does not produce carbon dioxide. Why wouldn't it? It's an acid. It's going to react with sodium carbonate to produce carbon dioxide. It does not produce hydrogen. Why wouldn't it? It would. Acid reacting with metal would produce hydrogen. It only donates some of its protons when added to excess aqueous sodium hydroxide. Why? It would neutralize. It only partially dissociates in water. Yeah, because it's a weak acid. It would react. Why would it only donate some of its protons? All protons it would donate to aqueous sodium hydroxide because it's strong alkali. They would react in a good way. So a student adds different solid salts to an accessor. What your student stirs the mixture to determine the solubilities? The results are shown. What could the 4 different salts be? X is definitely insoluble, so we're looking for something insoluble. W is soluble, Y is soluble, Z is soluble. Option C. Soluble, dissolve. Insoluble. Calcium sulfate is insoluble, lead chloride is insoluble. So, easy. 4 metal oxide listed, which are amphoteric: aluminum and zinc. 1 and 4. Calcium basic, copper oxide basic. The ions formed when element X and Y react together are this, which identifies the position of X and Y in the periodic table. -1 means group 7, because you want to gain 1 electron to have 8 electrons, so group 7. +2 means group 2. Was it made for elementary school? What is this paper for elementary school? It's so. Which properties decrease down the group for alkali metals? Melting points decrease because the bonding decreases, the metallic bonding decreases because your ionic radii increases, and the distance of your ionic radii from the delocalized electrons increases. Since this distance increases, the metallic bonding weakens, so the melting point decreases. Density increases because your nuclear number increases, reactivity also increases. So which properties decrease? One only, right? Easy. Some halide ions are displaced from aqueous potassium halides by halogens. In which mixture are the halide ions displaced? KBr with KBr with chlorine. Yeah, chlorine more reactive, gonna displace it. KBr with iodine. No, iodine less reactive, cannot displace. Ki with chlorine. Yeah, chlorine more reactive, displace. KCl with I. No, iodine less reactive. 1 and 3. What is the correct order of reactivity for the following metals from least reactive to most reactive? Copper, zinc, magnesium, and calcium most reactive. Do you even need to think about this paper? I think the equation for the reaction between aluminum and iron is shown. Which statement? The aluminum acts as an oxidizing agent. From going from 0 to a +3, itself being oxidized. The substance that itself oxidizes is a reducing agent. It shows that iron is more reactive than aluminum. It shows aluminum is more reactive because aluminum is displacing iron from iron 3 oxide and forming aluminum oxide and throwing out iron of this oxide. The oxidation number of aluminum decreases during the reaction, bro. It increases from 0 to +3. It shows aluminum has graded tendency to form positive ions. Yeah, aluminum is more reactive. Which identifies methods used to prevent iron from rusting? Greasing, painting, washing. Why would you wash it with distilled water? Do you want it to get rusted? Like, if you have oxygen and water, you're going to get rusting. So definitely not this. You're greasing and painting because that's going to prevent exposure of water vapors and oxygen to the metal. So this thing. Which statement about the extraction of aluminum by electrolysis is correct? Aluminum oxide is dissolved in molten cryolite to increase or decrease? At the cathode, oxygen. The carbon in the graphite anode, okay, reacts with oxygen. Yeah, this is a reasonable thing. That's written. The reaction is Al3 plus 3. The reaction at the anode. The reaction is correct, but this reaction happens at the cathode. Catalytic converters do this. Remove oxides of nitrogen from car exhaust. The equation represents what is the disadvantage of using a catalytic converter? CO is essential reactant. Oh my god. Carbon dioxide. CO2 is a greenhouse. Yeah, that's the main problem because you're producing carbon dioxide, which is a greenhouse gas. N2 is acidic. No, it's neutral. N2 is toxic. No, it's not toxic. If it was toxic, 78% is N2. Some gases are present in clean dry air while other only present in polluted air. Which row is correct? Clean dry air. Argon, a gas only present in polluted air. Nitrogen dioxide, carbon dioxide, though it's a greenhouse gas, but 0.04% is your carbon dioxide. You have forests. Are forests polluted? No, but they have carbon dioxide because the trees need carbon dioxide to survive, but they don't need this nitrogen dioxide gas from there. This fella causes acid rain. So B. Petroleum is separated by fractional distillation. Okay. So being told that this is separated by fractional distillation. Bottled gas for heating and cooking is obtained from naphtha. No, correct. And diesel oil is used as fuel. No, kerosene. Substances used to make polishes are obtained from lubricating oil. Yeah, lubricating is used for polishes. The kerosene fraction is used for waxes. No, for jet fuel. Structures represent a compound in the alcohol homologous series. I don't need to explain this, I think. Alkene, carboxylic acid, alkane, alcohol. This is elementary. Which row identifies the type of reaction that is going to happen when ethane reacts with chlorine? Addition or substitution? Substitution, bro. We're doing it with an alkane. Alkane plus chlorine is going to do substitution. Alkanes don't give addition reaction, right? Because you cannot add something to it. You can only substitute because they're saturated. They've all bonds filled. You'd never form hydrogen of C. Okay, now what are we doing? We're doing some... Which equation represents the formation of polypropene from propene? Okay, definitely a cross. Definitely a cross. You polymerized it. Why didn't you remove the double bond? A. Propene means 3 carbons. Over here, look, you have 2 carbons. Over here, look what's happening. You're forming this thing from this thing. Not possible. You just got to remove the double bond. Ethane reacts with hydrogen in addition reaction. What is the catalyst? Ethene plus hydrogen nickel catalyst. What is produced by bacterial oxidation? Vinegar. I think this is so easy that you don't even need to think. Bacterial oxidation of ethanol, vinegar. Normal oxidation of ethanol, ethanoic acid by KMnO4. Which statement about addition polymers or condensation polymers is correct? Addition polymers only contain carbon and hydrogen atoms. Who said this to you? You have polyvinyl chloride, that's also an addition polymer. PVC. There's so many that contain chlorine, I don't know, but that's incorrect. One of the monomers used to make polystyrene. Polyester is a diamine. You make polyesters from diamine. You use diols and dicarboxylics. Addition polymers contain carbon-carbon double bonds, single bonds. You polymerize the double bonds. What is an additional product in the formation of protein from amino acid? Yeah, that's correct. Water just comes out. Flame test, lilac, potassium, wise potassium, blue-green, copper, yellow, sodium. Do you even need to think about this? I don't think. Ethanol can be made by fermentation of sugar using yeast. How are they both separated? Distillation. Because they're two soluble substances that are mixed together. Water and ethanol are soluble, and when you have two soluble liquids, you always distill them. Where is distillation written? Distilling the mixture, yeah. Distillation. Filtering, how can you filter two soluble things? Heating to evaporate, both are going to evaporate. Nothing is going to left behind. They're soluble. Heating, done.